Brutal exchange between Horner and Toto Wolff. Stay until the end to find out all the details that have blown up Formula One. Subscribe to stay informed about the latest Formula One news. The atmosphere within Formula One has turned electric with tension, and at the eye of this growing tempest is a man who once commanded respect with absolute authority, Horner. Once the brain behind Red Bull Racing's unstoppable ascent, the figure who molded a championship-winning empire out of raw ambition and ruthless precision, now finds himself cornered, scrutinized, and slowly surrounded by forces that seem determined to end his reign. The whispers that once echoed in the background have exploded into an all-out internal clash, a high-stakes power struggle that's no longer limited to the Red Bull boardroom. It's engulfing the entire paddock. And just when it seemed the situation couldn't get more combustible, one name keeps surfacing, intensifying the drama: Toto Wolff. The internal structure of Red Bull, once fortified and unshakable, is now creaking under the weight of doubt, fractured trust, and shifting allegiances. For months, discussions once considered taboo have evolved into strategic talks about replacing the man who once led the team to unrivaled glory. Executives who once defended Horner with unwavering confidence are now questioning every decision, dissecting every mistake, and watching closely as his grip over the operation weakens with each passing day. The once cohesive unit at Milton Keynes now resembles a team in flux, uncertain, divided, and losing its rhythm. Lingering controversies have stained the brand's image, communication breakdowns have widened the cracks in leadership, and a string of on-track miscalculations has chipped away at Red Bull's aura of invincibility. What once looked like an occasional stumble now feels like a downward slide, and Toto Wolff isn't simply observing from the sidelines. He's fueling the fire with cold calculation. The Mercedes boss, long known for his tactical brilliance and off-track influence, is said to be maneuvering quietly but effectively, leveraging the chaos to destabilize his oldest rival. Through subtle political moves, targeted narratives, and strategic leaks, Wolff is reportedly accelerating Horner's unraveling, not out of personal vendetta, but because he knows that dismantling the leadership core of Red Bull could tilt the competitive balance back in his favor. This isn't just rivalry anymore. This is warfare, waged not just with engines and lap times, but with whispers, power plays, and psychological pressure. Subscribe to stay informed about the latest Formula One news. The unease is visible everywhere: tension in the garage, guarded interviews, clipped statements, and subtle shifts in team dynamics. Engineers who once moved in perfect sync now work under a cloud of uncertainty. Senior personnel exchange glances that reveal more than any press release ever could. Red Bull, the once unbreakable machine, is misfiring, not only in strategy but in spirit. And Horner, once the unchallenged leader of that machine, appears increasingly isolated. Behind closed doors, opinions are split. Some still view him as irreplaceable, a veteran with unmatched experience and a deep understanding of how to guide a team through stormy waters. But others believe his leadership has passed its peak, that the environment he once thrived in has changed beyond recognition, and that Red Bull's future requires a new direction unburdened by old power structures. There's a growing belief among some executives that the culture must evolve, and that evolution might require burning down parts of what was once considered sacred. And all the while, Wolff watches, calculates, and positions. He's not pushing openly, but his fingerprints are said to be all over the background maneuvers. He's had years to study Horner's empire, its strengths, its vulnerabilities, its fault lines. Now, as it teeters, he appears ready to capitalize. This isn't just about weakening a rival, it's about reshaping the political landscape of Formula One, consolidating influence, and removing the one man who has matched him blow for more than a decade. Whatever unfolds next won't be quiet. If Horner falls, it will be a shockwave across the sport, confirmation that no one, no matter how successful, is safe from the shifting sands of power. If he survives, it will ignite an even fiercer battle, one where both he and Wolff escalate the conflict in ways the paddock has never seen. The balance of power is hanging by a thread, and every conversation, every glance, every decision now carries weight. The calm surface of F1 hides a storm that is gaining force with terrifying speed, and at its center is a rivalry so intense, so personal, so consuming, that it threatens to reshape the future of the sport itself. Subscribe to stay informed about the latest Formula One news. Barely a week ago, under the golden Mediterranean sun and hidden behind the gloss of champagne-soaked glamour, one of the most confidential and electrifying encounters in recent Formula One history quietly unfolded, completely off the radar of cameras and casual onlookers. Beneath the polished exterior of the Monaco Grand Prix weekend, a covert and deeply strategic gathering took place that no one saw coming. Multiple respected insiders, including veteran motorsport journalists and several elite guests with privileged access, confirmed what initially seemed almost too unbelievable to be true. Helmut Marko, flanked by key Red Bull executives, was seen boarding the sleek, private vessel belonging to Mercedes mastermind Toto Wolff, anchored silently and inconspicuously near Port Hercule. What started as a moment that might be mistaken for a simple social visit quickly transformed into something far more explosive behind those tinted windows. The two men, notorious for their fierce on-track rivalry and completely contrasting leadership philosophies, didn't just share drinks and pleasantries. According to sources with direct knowledge of the meeting, Marko and Wolff spent nearly 4 intense hours locked in a no-holds-barred negotiation covering the future of Red Bull's leadership, an internal shakeup of historic proportions, with one name at the center of the storm: Christian Horner. The conversations were anything but casual. This wasn't an impromptu meeting. This was a calculated power play. A pre-planned, high-risk, high-reward discussion with massive consequences. Confidential insiders leaked that the dialogue revolved around not only reshuffling Red Bull's executive core, but also potentially forcing Horner out of his role in a way that would minimize reputational damage while maximizing structural change. And astonishingly, Wolff, known for his relentless focus on Mercedes' dominance, wasn't just observing. He was deeply involved, allegedly acting as a discreet architect of the entire framework that would allow Red Bull to transition into a new era of leadership without collapsing under the weight of internal division or media scrutiny. The figures discussed during the session were staggering. A multi-million-dollar agreement, specifically, a $23 million operational package, was laid out to facilitate the removal of Horner. This financial arsenal wasn't just for severance. It would be used to recalibrate everything: executive appointments, legal risk containment, crisis PR management, and operational realignment to prevent disruption on track. It's not just about pushing Horner out. It's about engineering a seamless, bulletproof succession plan that allows Red Bull to evolve without losing momentum or public trust. And then came the most surreal twist, an idea that could only have been conceived in the shadows of F1's most intricate political corridors. Wolff, usually Horner's most vocal rival, has allegedly offered strategic backing through Mercedes-connected advisors, helping to craft a post-Horner ecosystem that wouldn't just survive, it would thrive. Not direct personnel exchanges between enemy teams, but a kind of covert consultancy, where one of the sport's most powerful figures assists his rival's reinvention from the inside. It's Machiavellian. It's audacious. And if it succeeds, it will be remembered as one of the boldest political moves in the sport's modern history. The implications are massive. Red Bull could soon operate under a completely restructured hierarchy, one shaped not only by internal demands but subtly influenced by an external figure who, until now, represented everything they were fighting against. The Horner marketing Marko Trinity, which built the team into a relentless powerhouse, could soon be history. And the narrative would flip overnight, from unity to fracture, from dominance to vulnerability, from certainty to chaos, unless this transition is executed with absolute surgical precision. The legal teams are now working overtime, fine-tuning every clause, every condition, every possible leak point. Both sides know that a single misstep could derail the entire operation, sending the team spiraling into turmoil and igniting a media firestorm. But the machinery is already in motion. The timeline is tight. Insiders say the public announcement could drop within the next week. Until then, the paddock is gripped by speculation, suspicion, and stunned disbelief. Horner's legacy, long tied to Red Bull's meteoric rise, is hanging by a thread. And in a twist no one saw coming, the man tightening the noose may just be the one who spent the last decade trying to beat him. The silence from both camps speaks louder than any denial. Something massive is unfolding, and the entire world of Formula One is holding its breath. That was only the surface. Behind the curtain, hidden from every journalist, camera lens, and curious insider, something massive has been building. While speculation swirled around Ferrari and Alpine, while debates flared about Horner's next step, no one realized that the real storm had already begun elsewhere. Completely under the radar, Christian Horner entered into intense, highly confidential discussions with the one team no one expected, Mercedes. Not tomorrow. Not next week. This already happened, less than 24 hours ago in London, in a lockdown zero-access meeting room with Mercedes-AMG Petronas executives. No leaks. No distractions. Just raw, strategic dialogue between one of Formula One's most controversial masterminds and a team that is quietly desperate to rewrite its destiny. What they talked about wasn't speculation. It wasn't informal. This was serious. This was real. Terms were laid out, roles were defined, and the number that stunned even insiders? $12 million per year. Not for background consulting. Not for an advisory role. But for Horner to become the central brain of Mercedes moving forward. A leader. A disruptor. The architect of their revival. But the real shock? It wasn't the money. It wasn't even the job offer. It was the blueprint Horner proposed for the team's future. According to someone directly aware of the conversation, Horner laid down one non-negotiable condition: George Russell cannot remain. Despite Russell's speed, potential, and growing reputation, Horner allegedly stated in no uncertain terms that he doesn't consider him world championship material. Not suitable for the level of domination Horner envisions. He didn't see a future built around George. He wants more. He wants sharper edges. And to execute his vision, he wants to completely recalibrate Mercedes' lineup around a new face. But not just anyone. He wants Max Verstappen. Yes, Max, the current titan of the sport. The relentless competitor Horner elevated, defended, and molded into a three-time champion. Horner wants to bring Verstappen with him. Not in theory. Not as a long-term fantasy. As part of a concrete plan that was laid out in detail during this secretive meeting. His vision isn't about reworking details. It's about blowing the doors off the current structure and rebuilding Mercedes into something unstoppable. Imagine the chaos that would unleash. Taking the face of Red Bull's empire and planting him in silver. Ripping away the one weapon that defines Red Bull's dominance. Turning Mercedes into a fully armed, re-engineered machine with Verstappen as its spearhead. This would be nothing short of a Formula One earthquake. Verstappen may be under contract, but contracts are fragile when pressure mounts from the inside. Tensions behind the scenes at Red Bull have never fully cooled. Fractures have deepened. Politics, power plays, shifting alliances, it's all fuel to Horner's fire. And if there's anyone who knows exactly where the cracks are, it's him. This isn't just about leaving a team. It's about dismantling the empire he helped build, and replacing it with a new one, stronger and even more ruthless. For Mercedes, this wouldn't just be a comeback. It would be vengeance. It would be the beginning of a new reign. The paddock isn't ready. The headlines haven't caught up. But the game has already changed. The most calculated mind in the sport has just stepped onto a different board. And he's not just trying to win, he's aiming to burn down the past and build something even bigger, with the very piece Red Bull can't afford to lose. Yes, it's happening. Christian Horner, the mastermind behind Red Bull's golden era, the strategist who sculpted Max Verstappen into a ruthless champion, the same man who fought tooth and claw to make Red Bull the juggernaut it is today, is now plotting the unthinkable. He's not just walking away. He's aiming to tear the heart out of Red Bull and transplant it into Mercedes. He's quietly building the framework for a future that would shake the entire F1 world to its core, bringing Max Verstappen with him to Brackley. This isn't a dream. It's a strategy. A cold, calculated move that could redefine the balance of power across the grid. In a highly confidential gathering with Mercedes senior decision-makers, Horner laid everything on the table. His pitch wasn't vague. It was exact. He explained, with his trademark conviction, that his bond with Verstappen, though strained by recent chaos, still holds strength. That their connection, forged over years of victories, setbacks, and relentless ambition, isn't easily broken. And if Red Bull starts to crack under the weight of its internal feuds and media firestorms, he believes Max won't hesitate. If Verstappen sees Horner steering a new ship with vision, control, and a winning project, the temptation to jump ship might be too strong to resist. The discussion didn't stop with emotional ties. Horner went deep into the technical blueprint of what's ahead. He praised Mercedes' progress on the 2026 power unit regulations, showing a clear understanding of how that development could offer a significant advantage in the new era. He emphasized that the opportunity wasn't just about switching teams, it was about launching a revolution. A fresh foundation. A blank canvas where Horner would have complete authority to rebuild Mercedes from the inside, on his terms, with no lingering structures to slow him down. Insiders suggest Mercedes was intrigued. Not only because of Horner's proven ability to lead and win, but because the timing couldn't be more precise. With Toto Wolff reportedly preparing to transition into a broader, more corporate-level position, overseeing multiple ventures and divisions, the team is quietly preparing for a change in day-to-day leadership. James Allison remains critical to their technical future, but he isn't designed for the front line. Mercedes needs a new battlefield commander. And Horner, with his sharp political instincts, relentless drive, and total F1 immersion, is the ideal candidate to fill that vacuum. He's not just asking for control, he's demanding it. And he knows how to use it. Part of the meeting also touched on the current driver situation. Outwardly, Mercedes is putting on a united front, but behind the scenes, there's a growing storm. George Russell's potential is not in question, but his performances under high-stress situations have triggered concern. Key figures within the organization are questioning whether he has the killer instinct to carry the team through the next era. With Lewis Hamilton preparing to leave and no obvious successor in place, the concept of pairing a freshly restructured team under Horner with Verstappen, a proven, ruthless, unshakable winner, is more than tempting. It's terrifyingly realistic. Picture the outcome. Horner walking into Brackley with full command. A new engine philosophy already being developed. A squad restructured with precision. And Verstappen, arguably the most dominant force since peak Schumacher, leading the charge. The reaction across the paddock wouldn't be silence. It would be a roar. Sponsors would scramble. Rivals would panic. The Red Bull empire would shudder. The entire grid would feel the aftershock. What Horner is engineering is not just a comeback. It's vengeance wrapped in vision. A masterstroke aimed not at recovering power, but at rewriting the map of modern Formula One. He's not chasing comfort. He's chasing conquest. And if Max Verstappen follows him, everything, absolutely everything, changes. What's unfolding behind closed doors is far more intense, far more manipulative, and far more explosive than anyone on the outside truly realizes. While Red Bull clings to the illusion that it's handling Christian Horner's departure with precision and diplomacy, the man at the center of the storm is already executing a masterstroke. He's not waiting, he's not reacting, he's striking before the dust settles. Every step is choreographed. Every leak, every whisper, every calculated silence has a purpose. Horner isn't walking away quietly. He's preparing to launch, to detonate a comeback so calculated it will leave the sport breathless. This is no exit, it's a strategic repositioning. And the battlefield has shifted from the garages to the executive suites. The long-standing tension between Horner and Toto Wolff has mutated into a new form of warfare, no longer verbal sparring under the media spotlight, but a ruthless, behind-the-scenes struggle for influence and supremacy. It's subtle, sophisticated, and cutthroat. Wolff is playing defense, trying to resurrect a fallen dynasty. Horner, on the other hand, is plotting something disruptive, something that will flip the entire structure of power within Formula One. Allies are being courted, loyalties are being tested, and narratives are being rewritten. This is not just about racing anymore, it's about control, perception, and rewriting legacy in real time. Insiders with access to the inner workings of both teams are speaking in low tones about what's coming. According to multiple sources, Horner's next step is already locked in, waiting to be unleashed just hours, perhaps minutes, after Red Bull's official announcement. He's not going to vanish. He's going to erupt back onto the scene, not with apologies, but with a campaign engineered to reclaim the spotlight and flip the story. A media machine has already been activated, with messaging ready to paint him as the victim of jealousy, the target of internal betrayal, the genius forced out for being too powerful, too successful, too threatening to those above him. Expect interviews, footage, emotional storytelling, and a press narrative tailored to make him untouchable. This isn't just spin, it's a rebranding assault. And it's coming fast. And where does he reappear? The most tantalizing rumor has one name etched in bold capital letters: Mercedes. The very camp that once fired shots at him across paddocks, that traded icy glances and cutting comments, now stands poised to open the door. Not as an olive branch. Not as forgiveness. But as a ruthless strategy to resurrect their empire. Mercedes isn't chasing stability, they're hunting for revolution. They've watched their dominance crumble, their aura fade, and they're no longer willing to wait for organic growth. They want someone who can burn down the old ways and build something new from the ashes. And Horner, with all his controversy, all his ambition, all his scars, fits that mission perfectly. His skill set goes far beyond team management. He commands attention. He pulls talent. He reshapes cultures. He thrives in chaos. Mercedes knows that if they want to shake up the structure, break the cycle of mediocrity, and reignite a fire inside the organization, They need someone unapologetically relentless. They need a disruptor. And they believe Horner is that figure, the catalyst that could restore fear in their rivals' eyes. But the whispers don't stop there. There's something else lurking in the shadows, something even more volatile. The suggestion that Horner isn't coming alone. That conversations are being had with one of the sport's biggest stars, a game-changing driver whose future remains unresolved. Nothing is confirmed, nothing official, but the speculation refuses to die. Could Horner pull off the impossible, lure a championship-caliber name to follow him to Brackley? If he does, it won't just be a team shakeup, it'll be an earthquake. And it would send panic through every other pit wall on the grid. This is no ordinary career transition. This is revenge dressed as reinvention. This is power reclaimed through manipulation, influence, and strategic brilliance. Horner's not returning as a passenger. He's coming back as a storm. A force ready to tear down institutions, rewrite legacies, and remind everyone why he was never just another team boss. Red Bull may think they've turned the page, but Horner's already writing the next chapter. And when it's published, it won't just be read. It'll be felt by every rival, every critic, every believer, and every doubter in the sport. Where does that leave us right now? Right here, on the verge of a shift so dramatic, so unexpected, that most fans have no idea how close we are to watching the Formula One world crack open. Beneath the surface of calm press releases and carefully curated media appearances, there's a battle raging. Red Bull, once an unstoppable powerhouse, is slowly being torn apart from within. Not by their rivals on the track, but by the slow poison of internal conflict, fractured loyalty, and growing mistrust. Whispers of betrayal, fractured alliances, and a leadership vacuum are spreading like wildfire through the paddock, and at the center of that storm stands Christian Horner, a man who once controlled everything, and now finds himself being pulled in every direction at once. Just a few garages away, Mercedes isn't watching idly. Toto Wolff is no stranger to chaos, he thrives in it. While Red Bull is busy managing damage control, Mercedes is laying the groundwork for something massive. No loud declarations, no overhyped teasers, just cold, methodical preparation for a changing of the guard. And if the speculation swirling behind closed doors turns into reality, then Wolff and Horner, longtime adversaries, might soon be standing on the same side. Not as enemies locked in combat, but as uneasy allies under the same roof. Unthinkable? Maybe. Impossible? Not anymore. The chessboard is shifting, not in weeks or months, but now. Every cryptic smile, every offhand quote in the media, every sidelong glance during a race weekend carries weight. Verstappen, who once seemed locked into Red Bull for life, is suddenly less predictable. His body language, his tone, his aura, it's different. He feels the tension. He sees the instability. And if he senses that the dynasty he helped build is about to collapse, he won't stay to watch it burn. He'll find the nearest exit. And that exit might just lead straight to a silver arrow. This isn't your typical silly season rumor. This is a complete reshuffling of Formula One's DNA. A war between two juggernauts, Toto Wolff and Christian Horner, that has simmered for years, now boiling over into a confrontation that could redefine every aspect of the sport. This isn't just about who sits on the pit wall or who controls the team radio. It's about pride, legacy, reputation, and revenge. And when one of them makes the first move, it'll trigger a chain reaction that no one can stop. Every decision being made right now behind the scenes is part of a much bigger game. The contracts, the whispers in paddock corridors, the sudden refusals to comment, these are signs. The machinery is in motion. The narrative is being rewritten. And when the curtain lifts, and the truth finally spills out into the open, the shock will be unforgettable. You think you've seen drama in F1 before? That was nothing. What's coming next is unprecedented. Teams will be flipped upside down. Relationships will be tested. Careers will be redefined. And the entire landscape of Formula One could be rewritten in a single headline. When the announcement finally hits, whether it's Horner walking away from the only team he's ever known or Mercedes introducing a new chapter with a familiar face, it will detonate like a bomb through the sport. This is no longer about the past. It's not about what Horner achieved or what Wolff built. This is about the future. About power. About rewriting the balance of control in a sport where every inch of authority is fought for like a world championship. We're not waiting for the storm to arrive. We're already in it. You just haven't seen the lightning yet. So watch closely. Listen to the silence. It's louder than it's ever been. Read between the lines. Because the real story isn't on the track right now, it's happening in the shadows. And when that first announcement drops, it won't just change Red Bull. It won't just shift Mercedes. It'll ripple through every team, every driver, every paddock deal, and leave the entire grid scrambling to catch up. The game is already on. And it's just getting started.